4th of July is almost upon us, and that means fireworks will be lighting up the sky all across the country, but the weather has a few fireworks of its own up its sleeve that may interfere with your holiday plans. Fireworks in the form of tropical weather, severe weather, heavy rains, and heat. We're going to break it down and see who will see what and who might be affected by some of nature's fireworks. We're going to take a look at your beach forecast, the upcoming weekend, a quick peek at the long range, and we've even got space weather to talk about as we're under a geostorm watch. We're going to get into all of that, but we're going to start right here, right now, with your tropical weather update. Yeah, folks, this is Cold Rain's Weather World, where we have all the weather. I go and search it out every day and pull it together and bring it to you so you don't have to go find it. You can come right to this video and watch and get an idea of what's going on for the entire country and what's most likely to impact you where you are. And today we're going to bring you the tropical weather outlook to start the show. We're going to start on the Atlantic side. It's been very, very quiet thus far this season. Eastern Pacific, not so much. Very active out there, and we've got some activity there today to talk about. But in the meantime, we've got a little tropical wave here approaching the Lesser Antilles, but nothing going on with that. A couple of clusters of showers and thunderstorms throughout the Atlantic, but feast your eyes here off the southeast coast. Look at this. I've been watching this area for development over the last few days, expecting something to eventually come out of this. Yesterday, I speculated that most likely we're going to see the Atlantic side be the place where it develops and not so much in the Gulf, and it looks like that is eventually going to be the case if we get some development here. But you can see the cluster of thunderstorms cold front has moved off the coast and will stall here, and we've always got to watch for that. Here in the Gulf of cold rain, nothing going on except for some clusters of showers and thunderstorms in the northeastern Gulf, which we've seen the past few days, so not concerned about that. Eastern Pacific, Flossie developed very, very quickly and has weakened very, very quickly into a tropical storm. Will quickly go into depression status as we wave goodbye as it exits stage left out into the Pacific. It's certainly rapidly strengthened and now is rapidly weakening. And if we take a look here, we've got another area of disturbed weather with an 80% chance of development. Fortunately, whatever develops will continue to move on out into the Pacific and be nothing more than a wave maker. Over in the Atlantic, though, finally getting some activity to show itself here off the southeast coast. As I said before, a frontal boundary will help to potentially spin up a tropical or subtropical depression that will, most of the impacts will be maybe some enhanced cloud cover and rain along the Florida coast through central Florida up and down the southeast coast as it slowly gets together and moves up the coast. We're not looking at big winds. We're not looking at massive flooding rains and inland flooding and inland wind or anything like that. Not a hurricane, but we certainly could see development. We've got the Hurricane Center has increased the likelihood of development from 40% yesterday to 60% today. So we're watching this area over the next few days for development, and we will keep you posted on that. This could impact your beach plans if you have plans to go to the southeast, any of the southeast beaches, including Florida, over the next over this holiday weekend. We're going to get into the beach forecast coming up in just a minute. But that is your tropical update, folks. That's what we've got going on. I'll keep you updated as we go forward. Right now, though, we're going to take a look at your Weather IQ question, which I promised you yesterday. I hope you brushed up on your moon information because that's what today's question is about. All right, I'm starting you off with an easy one today as we kick off our Moon Series Part 2, and we just talked about this, so you might remember it. If not, that's okay. We'll go over it again today, and you'll know it for next time. But here's the question. The first full moon that occurs in June is called what? The crimson moon, the strawberry moon, the rose moon, or the blood moon? Now, it is one of those four, and if you remember it, type it in the comment section. If you don't, just wait till the end of the show, and I will let you know exactly what it is, and then you can send all your friends over to Cold Rain's Weather World. Tell them they can learn some cool stuff here, too. And in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and get into your weekend forecast and let you know how your holiday weekend's going to shake out. Yeah, I know I'm doing things a little bit backwards, folks, but I know a lot of you have holiday plans. You're going to be traveling, got things going on, and just want to go ahead and jump into that so you have an idea of what's going on for where you are in over the next few days. We're going to start here by taking a look at the forecast radar for Friday at around 2 p.m. East Coast time, and look at this. So we've got a few showers underway already. Northeast showers and potentially some storms up and down the front range of the Rockies over here in the northern Rockies, northwest as well. And so we're going to roll this on into motion. Friday afternoon into the evening hours could see some strong thunderstorms from the Midwest, Minnesota, all the way down the front range of the Rockies back into Texas and the plains, and then back into the northwest as well. Low pressure getting its act together off the southeast coast Friday night into Saturday. We've got a couple clusters moving through the plains in the Midwest again. It looks rainy on Saturday for parts of the Midwest, particularly as we get into afternoon. Minnesota, Wisconsin, UP of Michigan, back here in Montana could see another cluster of showers and thunderstorms extending back into Wyoming and of course back into Texas as well, where the monsoon season is kicked off in the Southwest, and we're seeing the benefits of that in terms of rain in New Mexico and Texas. And then we've got that low pressure starting to get its act together off the southeast coast as we get through the weekend on into Sunday. Look at this. Sunday afternoon as we go on into Sunday evening, we've got showers and thunderstorms from the Great Lakes all the way back to Texas again, and then another batch working into the plains. Rain in the southeast off the coast and along the coast particularly, and we get on into Sunday evening, and again more showers developing back along a frontal boundary back through Texas, and then again in the plains as well. So that's where our focus is going to be for thunderstorm activity and showers as we get on through the weekend. Taking a look at the total precipitation, this doesn't tell you about anything about when it's going to fall, but total precipitation, we're looking at essentially 1 to 2 inches, where you see the yellow back into the blues is about half an inch or so, up to the yellows is about an inch, greens are a little less than half an inch, and grays not very much. So, but here, if we want to look and see like when the rain is most likely to fall, what I've done here is brought out probabilities. I'm showing probabilities of precipitation over 24-hour increments. So this will be for the day on Friday. This is who is most likely to see enough rain to make a difference, and this is about 1/10 of an inch or less of rain. Okay, so we're looking at 80% probabilities, where you see 90% where you see this dark red. So anywhere in the darker colors is the higher probability of precipitation. Anywhere else is a little bit less in the white. We really don't have a lot to concern ourselves with. So you can see where this is, back into the upper northwest and into the Rocky Mountains up here, the Bitterroots, places like that. And we get on up into the northern plains, back down to the southern central plains, down into Texas. High probabilities of precipitation on Friday. Same again over Florida, and of course portions of the southeast coast. Now look, when we get into Saturday, lots of rain potential showing up here along the southeast coast back into Florida. Again, the Midwest, where we saw those thunderstorms moving through up here into the UP of Michigan, back down into the central and southern plains. Higher probabilities focused up here over the northern plains in the Midwest, and then again over Montana predominantly. And then as we look at Sunday, higher probabilities of precipitation for the Dakotas and down into Texas, back up in through the basically upper Mississippi River Valley into the Great Lakes, and then of course across the southeast as well. So Sunday and Saturday could be quite wet along the eastern sections of the southeast, and over on and off you're going to have to dodge thunderstorms and clusters of showers through the middle part of the country as we go on through the weekend. So just keep that in mind as we go. If you have any questions about any of that, just hit me up in the comments and I'm happy to answer it. I know I don't show that a lot, but that's what's going on. Temperature wise, looking at Friday, cool up in the northeast, relatively speaking cool up in the northern Rockies as well, and a new trough coming into the west will keep it a little cooler out there under the influence of clouds and some precipitation. 90s stretching all the way up to the Canadian border, back into the central plains, Midwest, back into the southeast, hundreds in the desert southwest. Saturday gets a little bit warmer in the south and the east, with more 90s and mid 90s showing up. Cool across north with temperatures in the 70s, so it'll feel good after all this heat we're having currently. And again, cool across in the northwest as well. And as we get on out into Sunday, continue to see the heat build out in the plains and over toward the Mississippi Valley into the Ohio Valley, warming up in the desert southwest, approaching 115 again. Still cooler across the north, but the northeast is warming up to 80s everywhere else, and 90s. So that's your weekend forecast, folks. We're going to take a look at your beach forecast coming up right now. So if you head down to the beach for the holiday weekend, it's going to be sunny and nice. Depends on where you go. Up here in the Northeast, looking pretty good. Over around the Gulf of Cold Rain and spots, looking pretty good down here off the California coast. Certainly looking good out there. It's just cool waters there, same as it is in the Northeast. But we'll take a quick tour here. If you're going out to Portland, Maine, Crescent Beach, look at this. Sunny skies all the way through the weekend. 75, 76, and 83 with a water temperature in the low 60s. A little farther south, heading down to Virginia Beach, for example. Not too bad out there either. Mid 80s every day through the weekend. Probably are going to see a few more clouds as we get into Sunday. Can't rule out a shower, although it's not shown here. But we're going to watch that as that tropical system gets developing and gets underway. But low 70s for the water temperature there. If you're in the Carolinas, though, we're starting to see activity pick up in terms of showers and thunderstorms and on down into the south. So Carolina Beach looking pretty rough if we're looking at probabilities for precipitation. July the 4th, 87, 84 on Saturday, 85 on Sunday. Moderate risk of rip currents with all that activity off the coast. And chances go up as we go through the weekend of showers and thunderstorms and more steady rain as we get through the weekend. If you're going down to St. Simon's, same again, showers and thunderstorms in the forecast every day through Sunday, increasing as we go along. Moderate risk of rip currents, water temperatures near 80 degrees. And last couple stops here, Jensen Beach. So looking at plenty of shower and thunderstorm probabilities as we go from Friday to Saturday into Sunday. They kind of come down a little bit. Temperatures in the 80s, water temperatures in the upper 70s. And last but not least, west coast of Florida, Santa Rosa Beach, not quite as stormy out there. So 20%, 30%, 40%, something along those lines over the next few days. Highs near 90, backing off into the mid 80s. Water temperature, a pleasant 85 degrees. That's Tour of the Beaches. Again, you can go to this site here and click on any of these umbrellas. This is weather.gov/beach, and it gives you the quick beach forecast for wherever you're looking at. Yeah, folks, it's time for the severe weather update. We're going to start by taking a look at what's going on around the country, and we're going to start there with our alerts map. And by the way, we're almost at 1,000 subscribers. Thank you all for tuning in and for signing up. If you haven't yet joined the team, please hit the subscribe button below. Join us, turn the alerts on. I do these videos every day. You'll get notified by clicking the little bell icon. Give us a thumbs up if you like it. And certainly leave a comment for me. I pray over you every day. If there's anything I can do or pray over specifically, please put it in the comments and let me know. Questions about the weather, and also let me know about where you are. I like to know where people are commenting from. And so looking at the alerts map, we've got a few hazards to pay attention to. Continue to see flash flood watches out here in West Texas and southeastern New Mexico. Plenty of rain has come in here. You guys have just seen round after round of rain over the past several days, week or so, and that'll continue. Looking out here in the Intermountain West toward the west coast, we're looking at red flag warnings where winds can gust anywhere between 30 and 45 miles per hour today. Very dry, so don't burn anything. We're looking for lightning strikes to potentially increase a wildfire risk out here too, so pay attention if you're out in these areas. By the way, we've seen thunderstorms out here cause wind damage a couple of days ago in Las Vegas with very little rain. The rain comes out of the thunderstorms, evaporates because the air is so dry, but you get this big downburst of wind, so creates big dust storms too. So you see a lot of that in monsoon season, which is underway out here. Heat advisories across the north the next day or two, where we're looking at high heat index values approaching or exceeding 100 degrees. So be careful if you're up there, and stay inside if you can. Looking at the winds, here's the winds gusting where you see these these green areas could gust into the 30s, background winds 20s. Everywhere you see blue, we could see gusts 15 to 20 miles per hour, and looking pretty good here in the southeastern quadrant of the country up into the Great Lakes. So not looking at a lot of wind in those areas. Air quality fairly good except for around Memphis, Denver, and Los Angeles. We could see some particulates, even a little red showing up out here, so it could get a little bit bad out here in Southern California. Pay attention if you have air quality, sensitivity to that. Stay inside if you can. Here's our temperature map for this afternoon. Temperatures going up into the hundreds in the plains, hence the heat advisory is going to be hot up there. upper 90s and mid 90s here across the deep south, and 90s everywhere else up and down through the nation's midsection, except for the Great Lakes and into the Northeast, 80s, 70s out toward the Pacific Northwest, and hundreds in the desert Southwest. Looking at the flow pattern the next couple of days, we're seeing little disturbances move across the ridge. We've got a ridge across the country, and again, the same story every day. A little piece of energy moving through. We've got a bigger piece of energy moving into the Northeast, going to help organize thunderstorms out there, increasing the severe threat. And as we go on through the afternoon, we see another piece kind of working in through here to the plains as well. So watch these little pieces of energy over the next couple of days. Another one going across the plains tomorrow, another one coming into the Pacific Northwest. Around trough coming in there, and so you can see all of that activity as we go on out in time through the weekend. Just energy moving across the north, not a lot going on in the south. So the northern tiers where our severe weather threats are going to be focused at, and you can see that here showing up very nicely on the National Weather Service or the Storm Prediction Center's probabilities of severe weather. Slight risk up here in the Northeast today, as I speculated yesterday. We're seeing that today. We'll see line segments up there later today, and some supercells potentially too. Same again here in North Dakota. Tornado threat's a little bit greater here because we've got a low-level jet here that's providing a little extra spin, but not looking at a widespread event. But pay attention, any spin up can be dangerous if it hits the wrong place. Hail could be a problem here with 2-inch in diameter hail or greater here in North Dakota. Hail could be a problem here in the Northeast as well, with temperatures cooler with height as we go up. That's wind. I'm sorry, I'm showing you wind. Hail could be a threat here. Wind could be significant here with some of these supercells that could develop later today in this evening in North Dakota. But that's the primary threat today. Looking at tomorrow, we're looking at a marginal risk up here in the Midwest, Minnesota back down into central Nebraska. And so pay attention tomorrow. We could see an upgrade here as well. We need to get a good handle on exactly where the best placement is for those thunderstorms. Looking at instability as we go over the next couple of days. Instability up here in the plains will increase. Look at this as we get on later this afternoon. It really explodes up here in the northern plains and western Midwest. Instability across parts of Texas as well will fuel thunderstorms and showers there. Thunderstorms up in the Northeast this evening with adequate instability and stronger mid-level wind shear. And again, as we go on into the evening hours, that will abate somewhat as we lose the heating of the day, but we'll see that instability pick back up tomorrow in the areas that we are under a threat for severe weather for. So we don't have a ton of wind shear to help organize thunderstorms in a predictable way. So we have instability though, and when you have instability and a little bit of wind shear, you always have the threat of severe weather. Looking at how the radar will play out over the next several hours this afternoon, really see that line start to take shape over New England. These little line segments could see some supercells develop as we get on in toward, I don't know, say 2, 3, 4 o'clock. We start to see everything kind of coalesce later on in the evening hours into a line. General shower and thunderstorm activity everywhere else. As we get on into the later end of the evening hours, maybe 8, 9 o'clock local time, 10 o'clock, we start to see a cluster of storms move in ahead of that disturbance out here in North Dakota. Some supercells will develop and maybe get a couple of clusters as well to enhance the wind threat too. And you see the model showing that. And then we'll start to see another cluster maybe move through Wisconsin. I don't know that there's going to be a lot of severe weather with this, but certainly could see some rumbles of thunder in the overnight hours through Wisconsin, the northern Wisconsin, the UP of Michigan. A few areas hold together, and then back as we get into tomorrow afternoon, late afternoon, back here in our threat area, northern Minnesota, North Dakota, back into South Dakota, back through Nebraska. Look, you can see those thunderstorms breaking out. Random thunderstorms across the southeast, across Texas as well. And here we go again back into Montana and Wyoming with another piece of energy hot on its heels. And there we go through the nighttime hours Saturday. Some of this will actually stay together in the form of an MCV. So that's what we'll see as we go on through the next couple of days, severe weather-wise. We'll keep our eyes on it, keep you posted. Next up, we're going to take a peek around the corner and see what the long range has in store. We spent a good deal of time in yesterday's video talking about the long range, so if you want to do a deeper dive, then go back and take a look at yesterday's video. I'll link to that at the end of this one. But in the meantime, we'll take a quick look here. Not a lot has changed. We look out next Monday and see our height pattern. These bright colors represent ridging or higher heights, meaning warmer temperatures. Blues mean a little cooler in terms of temperatures, and also troughiness and unsettled weather too. As we go on out in time toward end of next week, you see what's kind of going on here. You got high heights all the way through Canada. Little trough, these dip in the lines, trough working into the east. Big ridge parking itself over the desert southwest. And watch what happens as we just go on out way in La La Land. That general pattern continues, the theme continues. We have a ridge up or a trough up here in northwestern Canada, ridge over the southwestern portion of the country, and streamlines kind of dip a little bit as we go on in toward the east, which means that over time we could start to see a few northwest flow events work in toward next week and beyond. But then we get kind of this zonal flow pattern, so maybe that sort of dies out over time. That could provide a couple of opportunities across portions of the Midwest and into the mid-Atlantic for some severe weather as we go out. But generally hot conditions out west, a little less so toward the east, hotter than normal, much above normal in Canada. And as we take a look here at what the Climate Prediction Center says, much above out west, still above signal along the east coast, especially the southeast, and near to below in the center portion of the country. Alaska looks to be below normal with troughing up there. Hawaii, near normal. Precipitation-wise, you're going to find above normal where you have troughs or out ahead of troughs, and with those streamlines kind of showing troughing over the eastern portion of the country, it's no surprise to see above normal out here, below normal under the ridge in the west, and Alaska and Hawaii both looking mostly above normal. That's your long range. Now we're going to take a look and see what the sun is doing and what space weather might look like. Yeah, the sun ain't doing a whole lot, folks, so we don't have a lot going on the space weather front. If you take a look here at the coronagraph, watch over on the right side of this. Boom, look at that CME coming off, courtesy of a solar filament eruption. Not Earth-directed, though. We did have a CME kind of glance us, or is in the process of doing so. We haven't got to geomagnetic storm conditions yet, but a minor storm is expected. That takes the KP index up to about 5, and you can see it kind of ramping up here. So maybe over the next 24 hours or so, that glancing blow of the CME will get to us. In the meantime, looking at other things going on in the sun, not a lot happening. Got a few sunspot center disks, not interesting at all though, because they're not complex in terms of magnetic composition, and so we're not looking at a big risk of solar flares from any of these. 4132 coming in, very small, not growing, not anything going on there either. So not much going on in the way of sunspot or solar activity. All's quiet there. Earthquakes pretty quiet here too, unless you live in central Mexico. We've seen a little bit of an earthquake swarm over the last couple of days down here, if you can call it that. Volcanoes, nothing going on there. And then finally, the moon, 57% now. We're a waxing gibbous on our way to a full moon, a buck moon on July the 10th. And that brings us to the answer to today's Weather IQ question. And as a refresher, the question was, the first full moon that occurs in June is called what? And the answer is a strawberry moon. We talked about this back in June, but it traditionally marks the strawberry harvest time. That's why it's called a strawberry moon. Now, we've got more questions about the moon coming up over the next few days, so brush up, folks. And today in 1863, the Battle of Gettysburg ends. One of the most famous Civil War battles, turned the tide as Lee tried to invade the North. He was repelled, and that marked a turning point in the war, which of course the Union would go on to win. And it also, one more interesting tidbit, in 1886, the first car was sold in the United States. Carl Benz officially sold the first automobile, the Benz patent motor wagon, that's what it was called, marking the beginning of the commercial automotive industry. And now you know your history, you know your weather, and as always, if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. I'll respond to every single one of those as I read them all. And I hope you all have a blessed afternoon, folks. And as always, this is Cold Rain reminding you other channels run 24/7, but we got you covered right here, right now. Cold Rain's Weather World 4814. Take care, folks. Have a great day.